What's up, guys, and welcome back to Thomas Reacts here on the 360 experience with myself, Thomas Mabaso. So, guys, today I want us to go through the I don't want to call it a fight between the current Secretary General of the ANC right here, Mr. Fikile Mbalula, and the former Secretary General of the ANC right here, Mr. Ace Magashule. Because as many of us know it, that Ace Magashule has been expelled by the ANC and he is being charged with 2 counts and he has been found guilty. So the ANC has actually expelled him. This happened after they requested him to actually write a letter to the ANC actually explaining why the ANC should not expel him, but Ace Magashule did not do so. So the ANC National Executive Committee, they had to make a decision, and the party has expelled him. So after the Ace Magashule was expelled, we saw a lot of people, especially from his hometown in Tumahole, in Paris, a lot of people, they were there on some anti-ANC moment when they went out there with the ANC regalia and they started banning the ANC regalia because they were so frustrated with the fact that the ANC has actually expelled their son, which is Ace Magashule. So many of these things like this here, they took place right here in Tumahole in Paris. So Mr. Fikile Mbalula was actually mad about this thing because to him, he feels like Ace Magashule is actually attacking the party from the outside. He feels like Ace Magashule is bitter, so now he's attacking the party from the inside. He doesn't feel like these people who are doing this are the legitimate members of the ANC. He believes like these people are bought by Ace Magashule to actually tarnish the name of the ANC. So Fikile Mbalula had a press conference earlier, I think this year, when he was addressing these things, and I chose to react to this video specifically because he did not only talk about Ace Magashule, he also mentioned a few things that I would also like to react to. So guys, I hope that you stay with me as we enjoy and watch what the current Secretary General of the ANC has to say.
With regard to Ace Magashule, is it done and dusted? Well, the ball is in his court. He was charged on 2 accounts of which he was found guilty. And he was given an opportunity to appear before the DC. He did not appear before the DC. He was given 7 days after the decision was taken. He did not take up that opportunity to respond within 7 days to expulsion.
Guys, but is it me only, or do you also feel like Ace Magashule feels like the ANC was gonna kick him out anyway, whether he pleaded or not, whether he wrote the letter to ask the party not to expel him? Do you feel like he feels like the ANC was gonna expel him anyway? That's why he chose to not to write and not to plead and just to go out.
So we don't know what he's planning, to form a party or to leave or to still appeal to the National Executive Committee or anything of that sort. We don't know. All what we know and what we have read and what we have seen is that he said the revolution continues and that he will respond at an appropriate time. So we don't know what is that response. And all what we have seen is the mobilization on the ground, which has failed successive attempts to mobilize on the ground, banning of ANC property and T-shirts in his name, which he has not condemned. All what we have seen is him going to ANC former leaders and.
But guys, let's say if you were Ace Magashule, would you condemn the people who go out and ban the ANC regalia in your name after the same party has expelled you? Would you actually go out there and stop the people from doing this? What kind of response would you, if you were in Ace Magashule's feet or situation right now, would you go out there and actually condemn people who are banning the ANC regalia in your name, or would you just let people express their frustrations? Because guys, we have to understand, like, these things, they took a lot, they happened a lot in Tumahole, in Paris. So apparently in his hometown, Ace Magashule did quite a lot. I heard that the place is actually, it's actually nice. They have nice roads and they have all these things. And many people actually credit him for what he has done for his hometown. So that's why a lot of people in his hometown, they felt like the ANC was actually betraying him by kicking out the same guy who did this for them. So if you were Ace Magashule, would you go out and condemn these people, or what would you do?
Presenting himself as a person who's in a dilemma when the options for him were there in terms of the party processes. So you can only be a person who's facing a dilemma and a conundrum politically if ever you have exhausted all the processes, and that these people did not give me a choice but to leave. So all what we have equally seen is the WhatsApp messages of mobilization in his name, that he's been mobilizing, hard at work, mobilizing in the areas of the Free State, in Metsimahulu and the Kwakwa areas, Maloti Apufu, mobilizing our structures and councillors to join his movement. Where that movement is going, we don't know. That's what we see and happening on the ground, and the pronouncements that other political parties are actually talking to him. We will respond adequately to Ace whenever he decides to speak.
Adverts. Damn.
Block nose giving you nightmares? Trust Iliade into a blockade. Works fast in 25 seconds.
But guys, if you were in Ace Magashule's feet, what would you do? What would you do if you were in his situation?
About the ANC or anything. For now, we pause and we defend the integrity of our processes and the disciplinary processes of the ANC, which anyone can subject those disciplinary processes to review if they think they are treated unfairly. There is an appeal in the ANC, there is the National Executive Committee. If you think you are treated unfairly by the NDC, you appeal to the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal. That Mkijima's committee, Ubabu Mkijima, the chair of the ANC Disciplinary Committee, we believe that it has erred in terms of the following, and I therefore petition the appeal, which is chaired by Johnny Tilange. If Johnny Tilange overturns you, you can come to us, the National Executive Committee, and plead that you have been treated unfairly and therefore you don't deserve to be expelled from the ANC.
But I don't think Ace Magashule was gonna plead, guys. I don't think Ace Magashule was gonna plead. I think he saw the whole idea of pleading and the whole idea of writing a letter telling the ANC why they should not expel him. Like, he felt like that was unnecessary. He felt like the fact that these people they gave him these options, he felt like they want to get rid of me. They know that I will never plead. They know that I will never write a letter asking the ANC to not to expel him. Just imagine if he wrote that letter and the ANC expelled him anyway. So he was going to become a joke because people were going to be like, nah, you were begging the ANC to expel you. But right now, he has a bit of credibility because he fell on his sword and he was standing on his feet. He was not begging. He was not on his knees. So I think that's how he saw everything. I feel like he was never gonna plead. I feel like even these people who gave Ace Magashule these options, they knew that he was never gonna do that. They knew he was never gonna do that. I mean, like, if you are the ANC NEC and you actually tell Ace Magashule to plead or to write you a letter and explain why you should not expel him, I think you know that the guy is gonna go out. I think the guy was gonna go out. And if you are Fikile Mbalula, just imagine if you are Fikile Mbalula, would you rather have Ace Magashule have written that letter? And you see, what if Ace Magashule had written that letter, meaning like you were still gonna fight somehow, but now that Ace Magashule is out of the way, you are solid in your position. So for some reason, like Fikile Mbalula knows that Ace Magashule going out, it's actually working out on his favor because now he's solid in his position. Just imagine if Ace Magashule was still in the ANC, still influentially in the ANC, he was gonna find it hard to do his job. He was gonna make it hard for Fikile Mbalula to do his job. But now that Ace Magashule is out, Fikile Mbalula is quite happy that Ace Magashule is out. Now that I can do whatever that I like. I'm now the Secretary General of the ANC, not you. Like, this is me right now. I mean, like, if I were Fikile Mbalula, I was gonna be happy that Ace Magashule get kicked out. Man, what the hell? I was gonna be happy. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. I was gonna be happy, man. This is dog world, man. I was gonna be happy, man. I feel like he is also happy. He's happy deep down in his heart. He knows that, like, bruh, you are out, I'm in. That's it.
So all those processes are at his disposal. So that's why I'm saying the ball is on his court. And all what we're seeing in the public discourse is this thing that plays itself out in the form of this attack on the ANC assets and property by people who call themselves Magashule's supporters, who attack the ANC in the manner in which they do. We have now unleashed our structures, wherever they are, that they must rise and defend the ANC and not allow the ANC to be distorted in the name of an individual who was given an opportunity to defend himself and answer to the charges that were put before him by the organization. He has not. So our organization must rise. We must not wait for the moment where things will happen and get out of hand. We must never allow anybody to bring the ANC into a state of total disarray for pursuance of personal interest. That must never be allowed by the African National Congress. We know that there's been outright mobilization on this matter politically, to the point where in which we are called upon to frown upon organizational internal processes. Where will the ANC be if every DC process will be frowned upon by its leadership at the expense of an individual? This organization will die, and that is not what we are about to do. Comrade Ace, as a former Secretary General and a leader of the ANC, knows what is good and right to be done, and that's what is important. So we draw no joy on the expulsion of anyone, because we know
you are lying.
Years of people have accumulated in the struggle, and how difficult it is just to recruit one member. So we draw no joy and celebrate the expulsion of anyone. So Ace Magashule, the ball is in his court.
But honestly, guys, do you think that if Fikile Mbalula is not happy that Ace Magashule is out? Nah, man. He's happy, man. This is politics, man. He's happy. He's happy, man. You know that he has to say this. This is formal. But he knows that, like, deep down in his heart, he knows that, bruh, you are out. I'm in. He's happy, man.
Expulsion of former ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule.
Eliod.
The expulsion of former Secretary General E.S. Magashule was confirmed, regrettably, following his failure to submit representation on reasons why he should not be expelled from the ANC, after the expiry of a stipulated period of 7 days duly communicated to him. The ANC derives no joy in the expulsion of any member Hence, Comrade Ace was given time to mitigate against the recommended verdict of his expulsion. And in this regard, the ANC is duty-bound to uphold its integrity and internal organizational disciplinary processes.
And guys, do you remember even Jacob Zuma? Jacob Zuma, do you remember when he went to jail? He went to jail because he wouldn't comply with that Zondo's commission that was set to investigate him or something. That's why he was sent to jail. I feel like even Ace Magashule in this position was feeling the same. Was feeling like it doesn't matter what I do, they're still gonna judge me anyway. Just like Zuma maybe felt like it doesn't matter what I do. These people have decided to throw him in, to throw me in jail, so they're gonna do it anyway. So I feel like Magashule, like he felt like this here at this point. I feel like he knew it the moment that the ANC was talking about his expulsion. He knew that he was gonna be out. I feel like he knew that he was gonna be out.
On allegations against ANC MPs, the NWC noted the allegations made by the suspended public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, regarding ANC members of parliament. Comrade Pemima Jodina, the Chief Whip, Comrade Kubutile Kyanki, the Chairperson of the Section 194 Inquiry, and the late Comrade Tina Jumat Peterson. The ANC condemns and distances itself from any attempt to undermine processes conducted in terms of the Constitution and the laws of the Republic, for which it waged a determined struggle in which many sacrificed life and limb and liberty. Accordingly, the ANC views the recordings purporting to reflect statements by the late Comrade Jomat Peterson with concern. Regrettably, she is no longer in a position to explain or account for the statements attributed to her. The ANC is also concerned that the reputations of the Chief Whip and the Chairperson are being of the inquiry, the Chairperson of the inquiry, are being subjected to attacks on the basis of hearsay evidence, devoid of any credible and independent corroboration. In this regard, the NWC reaffirms its confidence in their leadership and support their full cooperation with the Parliamentary Ethics Committee as well as internal ANC processes. Condolences, the NWC dipped its revolutionary banner in honor of the memory of Comrade Tina Jomat Peterson, Comrade Amos and Betty Kumede, Comrade Sillo Mudibedi, and Comrade Zoliso Funiselo. Process, but most important.
Tingling and numbness, again and again, could be signs of vitamin B.
Importantly, to work very hard in the context of the law to expedite processes that will arrest the continued influx of illegal immigrants in our country. Mm-hmm. Now, there is a definition of immigration and refugees. And refugees are people that come to your country for various reasons, including political asylum and so on. But that is totally different from people who come to your country illegally in numbers like we have seen. And as a result of porous borders, and that to come to South Africa is easy, more than any other country in the world. So that is why we applaud the work of the border management. But that on its own is not enough. So we need to deal with this question of immigration.
But how is the ANC going to deal with the issue of immigration? I feel like they are between the rock and a hard place, man. I feel like the ANC is between the rock and the hard place because a lot of these people, they come from countries that a lot of ANC veterans were exiled in those places. Like a lot of ANC veterans, we know that some of them they went to Zimbabwe, some of them they went to Zambia, some of them they went to Botswana, and all these other places. So and they were accommodated in those spaces. So as ANC, they feel like by actually allowing other people to come into South Africa is their way of actually paying back. We've heard a lot of people actually make these arguments that during apartheid, when a lot of comrades were under the target, they had to run away from South Africa, and they were living in those places. And some of these guys, they didn't have their legal documents. But other people were making other arguments like it makes no sense that ANC only sent few people, but these people are coming back in millions. So right now, this issue of illegal immigrants is it's affecting the people on the ground. And I feel like politicians, by actually tiptoeing around this thing, it actually shows that also that these people they are not in touch with the reality. They don't live with us here in the townships. They don't know. They don't feel how people feel, because what people feel about illegal immigrants, it's legit, man. It's something that we have to talk about. It can't be that every time when South Africans express their feelings about illegal immigrants, they are labeled xenophobic and they are labeled all these names. It can't be. It can't be, because South Africans right now, they are frustrated. South Africans are frustrated about a lot of things. And this issue of illegal immigration is mostly, it's at the center of these things. It's at the center of these things. Because there are a lot of people who are now making claims that, okay, right now, we can't even go there to apply to drive the trucks because the industry it's flooded with illegal immigrants. We can't even go there and look for part-time jobs in the restaurants because they are all immigrants there. You understand me? So people are feeling like the issue of illegal immigrants is starting to affect them in their personal lives. That's how they feel. Because we know that even a lot of these guys who come into South Africa illegally, they sell drugs, these guys. They sell drugs, just like what happens with that show on Mojalavo. Sizokuthola, they go there and they get and they catch guys red-handed with these drugs. They send them to jail, but guess what? After 2 or 3 days, the guys are back. Some of these guys have actually went out there on social media and actually mocked the show for coming to arrest them because they are now free. So this is what people are frustrated about, because they feel like we can't even report crime, because what's the point of reporting crime? Because we report crime, but nothing is done. Or when you take this criminal, in 2 days they are back doing what they were doing before. So that's why I'm saying a lot of South Africans are frustrated about a lot of things, and you take that and you add the issue of unemployment. And a lot of people who are unemployed are feeling like some of these guys some of the foreigners are actually starting to take their places in some of these works, because they feel like, okay, as South Africans we should have jobs that are reserved for South Africans. It can't be that we are sharing everything. It doesn't happen like that. Man, other African countries, they are not shy to actually go out there and tell the people that some of these jobs, we reserve some of these jobs only for our people. But as soon as South Africa says something like that, we are called xenophobic. And these are the conversations that need to be had. People need to talk about these things. These are the conversations that people want to talk about. These are the things that people are actually frustrated about. So the issue of illegal immigrants, because some of these guys, because that's why this whole thing is making people frustrated, because they feel like some of these guys are not there to address this issue of illegal immigrations. They are just there to use the issue for political capital. They don't actually care about fixing this issue. That's why a lot of people were criticizing Operation Dudula about, like, Operation Dudula, what is your motive? Because you are not taking the fight to the people who are allowing the illegal immigrants to come into South Africa, which is the government. But what you are doing, you are running around, chasing these people around, making it hard even for South Africans to even distinguish between a South African and illegal immigrants. And people's lives are put in danger because of that. You understand? So that's why I'm saying people are actually frustrated about this whole thing of illegal immigrants, because it's not being discussed. It's not being talked about. Every time South Africans express their feelings about this whole thing, they know that the media will be out there calling them all these names, making you wonder why sometimes the media is so like it's on these people's side. It makes you wonder sometimes. Is it because maybe like the corporations that they work for are actually benefiting from having these people who come from outside because it's cheap labor? These are the conversations that people want to have, and there's absolutely no space for such. Shout out to Penuel for actually hosting Rotendo Matinyarare and the advocate Aikumalo to talk about this for 2 hours. I felt like that conversation was very important, and people on the ground, they are very frustrated with this whole thing of illegal foreigners, man. I'm not gonna lie, people are frustrated. You can see what's happening in Joburg. People feel like Joburg right now, it belongs to illegal immigrants who come to South Africa claiming that they are persecuted in their own countries, but when they get here, they start selling drugs, they start getting involved in human trafficking and all this nonsense, and it's fraud, it's scam, illegal identity documents, illegal passports, and all these things. You can see what's happening in Joburg and what is starting to happen in other parts in South Africa. People are very frustrated with this whole thing of illegal immigrants, man. Are really frustrated, and at the same time, no one wants to solve this thing, because even Gayton Mackenzie went there to Unfiltered to be interviewed by Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, and he was talking about he's advocating for the mass he's advocating for the mass deportation of illegal immigrants. And rightly so, Sizwe Mpofu asked him, how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? In South Africa, we have so many illegal foreigners right now. They are in millions. How are you going to deport them in mass? Because it's nice to say that we are advocating for the mass deportation of illegal foreigners, but it's actually hard if you think about it in details. Who are you going to work for? Who are you going to work with? He also said like he's advocating for citizens arrest. Just imagine citizens arrest. Just imagine how many people will be killed going around asking other people whether they belong in South Africa or what. He was also talking about the thing of like South Africa should walk around with their IDs so that when they are asked they can produce the documents. But the question is, who's going to ask the questions? You see? So it's nice to say that we are advocating for the mass deportation of illegal immigrants, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Are you going to work with the SAPS? We know that the SAPS has been accused on so many accounts on working with these criminals. They have been accused on so many accounts on working with these criminals. People actually don't trust the SAPS on account. People don't trust the police on the ground because they feel like it doesn't matter. They don't. If people can report or tip off a police about a drug dealer, and in 3 days or 4 days the guy is out selling drugs again, then there's no trust between the police and the public. And these are the issues that people want to talk about. These are the issues that are making South Africans so frustrated. That's why I say a lot of these political guys, they are just there for posture and for political capital. They don't actually care about fixing these issues. That's why when they are asked in details, just like Gayton Mackenzie, he was busy biting his tongue there with Sizwe Mpofu. Go there on YouTube and watch that document and watch that interview of Gayton Mackenzie and Sizwe Mpofu Walsh. He was busy biting his tongue there, not knowing what to say, because Sizwe actually wanted to know, how are you actually going to implement this thing of mass deportation? And and this thing, guys, it's so frustrating because me personally, I don't like the idea of South Africans targeting illegal foreigners and pushing them out and breaking stores there, banning shops and everything. I'm not in favor of that, because I understand some of these guys, they come to South Africa legally, but you know what happens when people are frustrated and there's a protest or something. They don't have time to ask questions. So some of these guys who are in South Africa legally end up being victims of something that they are not part of. So that's why I'm so skeptical about this whole thing. And at the same time, I understand that we are living in a world that is very diverse, and the world that is very mobile. I mean, right now, it's easy for South Africans to say, no, we want Nigerians out of the country, we want Zimbabweans out of the country. It's fine. What's going to happen if your child gets a job and maybe they are deployed in Nigeria? What's going to happen if your boss tells you that, okay, you have to go to Nigeria to do this, to do 1, 2, 3? What are you going to say when you get to Nigeria? Are you going to tell the people in Nigeria that you are a South African? Man, do you think that as a South African you can go out there in Africa and tell people that you come from South Africa? A lot of people hate South Africans because they feel like South Africans are targeting foreigners as a whole. It doesn't matter whether it's legal or it's not, it's illegal. It doesn't matter. They feel like South Africans are targeting foreigners as a whole. And a lot of African guys, a lot of African countries, they live together, those guys. They live together, but when you come from South Africa, you can't go to Nigeria and start telling people that you come from South Africa. You might get your ass kicked. They might kick your stupid ass for telling them that you come from South Africa. They're gonna be like, a xenophobic one. You know that your people are xenophobic. So even this whole thing of targeting the illegal foreigners, it's making it hard for us to go out there in the world. Because the narrative out there, the narrative that the media has thrown out there is that South Africans are xenophobic. So when you go out there, man, when I get to Abuja, when they ask me, where do you come from? Man, I come from Gaborone, Botswana. Fact. I'm coming from Gaborone, Botswana, man. I'm not gonna go to Nigeria and start telling people that I come from South Africa, man. I feel like your life might be in danger there because of how South Africans have been portrayed by the media. So that's why I'm saying I'm in the middle about this whole thing. I want it to be done properly. I don't want it to be done in such a way that it can make people fight against each other. I don't want it to get to a point that we have a government that is advocating for people to fight against each other. I think that is a disaster. I think that is a disaster. I think advocate telling people to do the citizens arrest. I think that is a disaster, man. You can't tell people to go against each other like that. I want this thing to be done correctly, and I want it to be done nicely in a way that is sensible, because I understand the implications of these things. Yeah, it's fine. You might not care about going to Africa or working in Africa, but maybe someone maybe close to you. What if your sister gets an opportunity to work in Nigeria? What if your brother gets an opportunity to work in some of these countries? What if you get an opportunity to go to Zimbabwe or something like that? It's going to be very hard for you as a South African to go in these African countries and tell them that you come from South Africa. They want to see you as a xenophobic nigga. You understand me? So that's why I'm saying I want this whole thing to be done perfectly. I want it to be done right. I don't want people to use this thing to make people fight against each other, because I feel like that's what a lot of people are actually proposing, that South Africans stand up and fight against these people. That's what I'm saying is very sad, because some of these guys that are in South Africa legally, they end up being victims when there is a protest or something like that, because when emotions are high, people are fired up, no one has time to ask questions. If you have a shop, they just get in there. They don't care whether you have papers, you are legal in South Africa or you are not. As long as you are foreigner, you are a target. So that's what I'm saying. It's starting to make things very difficult and dangerous for us as South Africans. So this whole thing of illegal foreigners, man, Someone needs to make a plan, man. A proper one.
In protection of the citizens, including issues of employment and the kind of work opportunities that will be preserved for South Africans in our country. On the Ruyter, like I briefed, we will give an update on that.
And it's nice that even the likes of Fikile Mbalula are starting to say like some of the jobs must be preserved for South Africans. That's what people have been waiting for. That's what people have been waiting for, man. Kudos to you.
Matter. The Ruyter has been traced to be in Germany, in the city of Hamburg. The court in Pretoria have ruled in our favor that we must serve him the papers, which we have done, for a person like him who is a South African but not residing in the country. So there's a tedious process in relation to this, because it has got to go through the which anyone can subject.
So sorry. My phone actually fell on the keyboards. That's why now. I wish I was live so that I can ask you guys where we were.
On allegations against ANC MPs.
Jeez.
Blocked nose causing problems? Use Vicks Inhaler to get fast relief from a blocked nose. Vicks Inhaler.
The NWC notice
illegal immigration
has started, and we just need to get the details of it in terms of the advice we will get from our lawyers. With regard to BRICS, Ntebu, and President Putin coming to South Africa,
is not.
Do we think we should have abandoned the ICC? Look
Yes.
where we come from with this. In 2017, we had a resolution which we took that we must get out of the ICC.
And
In the last conference, that resolution was rescinded.
so what happened with the resolution to get out of the ICC? Why didn't you implement it? So you just had a resolution to go out, to get out of the ICC, and never actually implement it. How does that work? So that the next conference can come and rescind that decision. I mean, like, how does that work? What's happening right now with BRICS? This is exactly why a lot of people were saying that South Africa should get out of the ICC, because the ICC is not. The ICC is biased, man. The ICC is biased, and I feel like the ICC, it has failed as an institution, because they know that their whole base is the whole thing of arresting people who are committing atrocities across the world. So if the ICC wants to issue out a warrant of arrest for Vladimir Putin, that's why a lot of people, even including Julius Malema, when he was talking to that arrogant BBC guy, you remember that arrogant BBC reporter Stephen Secker, when he said that, when he was very shocked when Malema said he's welcoming Putin to come to South Africa, he was very shocked, because he said, why? Because the ICC has actually issued out a warrant of arrest for Vladimir Putin. And Malema was like, why don't these ICC start with Americans? Why don't they issue out this warrant of arrest for Americans? Why? You see, because of how many countries has America invaded. What happened with Iraq? What happened with weapons of mass destruction? No one was ever arrested or questioned or anything like that. But with Vladimir Putin, they are quick to say anything, too quick to say something. And a lot of time, Africans have been saying that our leaders are persecuted there at the ICC, because the real warmongers are left alone, while Africans are actually persecuted at the ICC. This is exactly why people were saying South Africa should get out of the ICC, because there is absolutely nothing that we are getting from being the part of the ICC. I'm still waiting for someone to tell me one benefit of being in the ICC. What is it that we are gaining from being in the ICC? And I've heard that, if I'm not wrong, that the ICC can only issue out a warrant of arrest for maybe, let's say, a president of a country that is part of the ICC. Russia is not a part of the ICC. Why is the ICC issuing out a warrant of arrest for Vladimir Putin? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So right now, Vladimir Putin is not coming to South Africa on BRICS Summit. And again, this is why people were asking, why don't the BRICS group have its own embassy where they can be protected at all times? I mean, like, just imagine if the BRICS had their own embassy here in South Africa. Man, these guys would not say they are coming to South Africa. They will say they are going to BRICS embassy, man. Even the South Africa could get away with the technicality that, man, these guys technically they're not in South Africa. They're in a BRICS embassy. Just like when you are in an American embassy, you can't just start enforcing South African laws there. It's America technically there. Why don't the BRICS have its own embassy where it can have its own laws there? You see? The BRICS needs to have its own embassy. It needs to have its own embassy. Because otherwise things like this are going to happen every time, because it's only a matter of time before the ICC issue out a warrant of arrest, maybe for the Chinese president, or issue a warrant of arrest for the Brazilian president. It's only a matter of time. So South Africans say, what is it that we are benefiting for being the part of the ICC? No one knows.
The National Executive Committee have implemented, not for purposes of President Putin, to say that how do we deal with the conundrum of members, head of state, who are faced with this challenge of warrant of arrest and so on, and having to come to our country for one reason or the other. How do we deal with that? Now, not South Africa, the United Kingdom have implemented the amendment on the Rome Statutes for their country to provide immunity for heads of state who might be faced with challenges of this nature to can come to the United Kingdom. We are doing the same here.
Well, I guess it didn't work. Because Vladimir Putin doesn't feel safe. I feel like Vladimir Putin doesn't feel safe to come to South Africa. I feel like he feels like South Africans have been tiptoeing around the issue of him coming or not. Now that he's even questioning the whole thing of coming to South Africa. Because for months, these people have been tiptoeing around the issue of Vladimir Putin coming to South Africa. This question has been raised a lot of times. And they've been tiptoeing around the issue of Vladimir Putin coming to South Africa. I feel like he knew when they started, when they were giving vague answers, that now, man.
Not working against our own resolution to rescind the decision to work out, but we are saying we must amend. We have given this mandate.
There's nothing wrong with working against the resolution that you have made, if the decision that you are making currently is gonna work in favor of the country. Man, if I make a decision right now, and tomorrow I have to go against that decision so that South Africa can be a better place, I don't care about the decision I made yesterday. So there's nothing wrong with actually working against the resolution that you have made, because you have already worked against it, because you said you want to get out of the ICC, didn't implement it, you came back and said now we want to stay in the ICC. So why didn't you say no, fuck the whole thing of ICC? We're going to give all of these people who are coming immunity so that no one can touch them. There is nothing wrong with working with the decision that you have made. I feel like South Africans right now, or politics, it has come to a place where when you make a statement, you must stand with that statement. Whether you receive new data, whether you receive new information, you must still stand with the same position that you were in because that's where you were. But that's not how it works in real life, because in life you make decisions, but when you get new data you make new decisions. I mean, like, you can be convinced that maybe, for an example, that Fikile Mbalula is a wrong person, but you can receive new data that can actually change your mind about this person. There's nothing wrong with changing stances in politics, but right now in South Africa, or politics as in general, when people change stances, people feel like, no, now you are a flip-flopper, now you are changing stances. There's nothing wrong with changing stances. There's nothing wrong with working against the resolution that you have made if the decision that you took is going to put South Africa in a better place. There's nothing wrong with it saying that the decision I made yesterday, I don't care about it, because now the decision I have to make is going to work in favor of South Africa. Man, there's nothing wrong with that, man. I don't know why politicians are so against this thing of changing their stances. There's nothing wrong with changing your stances, man. We live in an era of data. We live in an era of information where we constantly receive information. Man, you can make one decision about one thing today, and tomorrow you can receive new data and you can change your whole stance. There's nothing wrong with changing your position on things, man.
To our lawmakers to implement this, so that we don't answer the question in future after President Putin to another president. What do we do? So before you come and attack us on it, you must remember it started elsewhere. Countries can do this to preserve their own sovereignty and autonomy on matters of this nature. Now we are pursuing peace. Putin cannot come to South Africa. We must go to him as a president, and therefore, because of this warrant, we've got BRICS coming to our country. There is a conundrum, because we're signatories. How do we deal with that matter? Not even compared to al-Bashir, who came to this country, despite the fact that there was no BRICS or anything of that sort, but AU coming to our country, and he had to come. And then we had to suffer the consequences for that, because we are signatories to the ICC. So that's why we take this route of amending the Rome statutes going forward. But at the present moment, as an ANC, we've got no mandate from our conference to get out of ICC in Tebu. Our conference is very clear that rescind the decision of 2017. And to this extent, our act on the matter of amending the Roman statutes, even when we succeed in relation to that, which we will succeed, the period of the BRICS summit will have long passed. But that will remain in the history records for guiding future administration about how to deal with matters of this nature, because it's not about to end with President Putin.
So guys, what do you feel about that speech? How do you feel about that press conference of Fikile Mbalula? Because for some reason I applaud him for being out there, for being so accessible, because a lot of people, they have a lot of questions to the ANC. So guys, please tell me what you think about that press conference. I feel like it was important. He addressed a lot of issues that are burning right now in South Africa, even the issue of him versus Mr. Magashule. Guys, please tell me what you think in the comment section. Please don't forget to hit that like button and hit the notification bell so that you can get notification whenever I drop new episode. And the most important part, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.